In this video, I'm going to walk you through making your environments for your four corners animation. So here you can see I've added a plane. I've increased the resolution by adding subdivisions in the attribute editor. And now I'm making some hills. This is going to be my snowy scene. So nothing needs to be too sharp or crazy. Now I'm drawing a curve for a road using the EP curve tool. Press enter to record that. Offset the curve and then adjust the position. And then use loft to create a surface in between. Once you have that surface, you can hide the other two things, and then I'm going to convert that to a mesh object by using NURBS topologies. So once I've done that, I can extrude that and make it three-dimensional. So I'm trying to select all the faces here and then extrude. You can see that my normals are inside out, so I'm playing with it a little bit, trying to figure that out, and I'm just going to go up to invert the normals, reverse the normals on the mesh display window. Now I have a mesh object that is my road. And I'm going to add a black texture to it. And I'm going to add a snow texture to my plane. It's just going to be a white with all the roughness. I'm going to bring in my low-poly trees and my car. And I'm going to delete the trees I don't want because I just want the dead tree and the conifer. So I'm going to shrink those down so they're the right size, make that car a little smaller so it fits on my road. I'm making my plane live so that my trees will stick to the surface of it. So when I put them on the hill, they'll still be touching the surface. Alright. So I'm going to tilt that just a little bit using my rotate tool, duplicate it, make another one, and bring in a bunch of trees. So you can see no matter where I move it, it's still on the surface of the plane. That's because that plane is a live surface. I can still lift it up and down, but if I just move it side to side, it's still stuck. So I want to rotate these around a little bit, make each tree appear to be individual. I'm setting up my scene so that all my objects don't look exactly the same. Alright, now I'm ready to bring my car in. So remember I have that original curve. I'm going to use that to constrain. And then I have to flip my car so it's facing front. Now I'm trying to edit the pivot. It took me a while to get it to let me do it. Trying to get it to let me edit the pivot. It took me a hot second. There we go, finally. Alright, so now I'm editing my pivot to make sure that my car is on the surface of the road, right? So I have to raise and lower. I have to kind of move it sideways. And then I'm going to check throughout my animation, is this car still in the right spot, right? And then I accidentally rotated it, so I had to undo that. But we're going to get this car so it's on the surface of the road for my whole timeline. Okay, so you can see my car only is animated for 48 frames at first, but I want it to run for the whole 200 frames, so I have to adjust my timeline. I'm going to change my animation speed as well. And make it run for the whole length of the animation. So I'm looking at my motion path and just making sure that it runs for the length of my animation. Making sure that playback speed is set correctly as well. All right, I've got my Skydome in. Now I'm going to set up my camera. Make sure everything gets in the correct time frame here. I'm using a camera and aim, so I'm going to put the aim inside my car so that the camera will always point at the car. And I'm trying to make sure that my camera doesn't reveal that this is just a plane, right? I want to have that view so that we can see so I'm taking my aim out of the car so that my aim can be animated independently of the car, right? And so now I'm setting keyframes by tapping S. And now I'm manipulating my camera as well and setting keyframes on my camera. So I'm keeping my car in frame by moving that aim point around. And now I'm going to have my camera kind of pan to the side after my car goes out so I can transition to my next scene. All right, and that transition is way too fast. So now I'm going to come in and adjust the positioning of my keyframes right here. So I want those to be a little bit different. So I just drag those back so I have more frames in the pan. All right, and finally I'm looking at this in render view so that I can adjust my textures and make sure nothing's too shiny. The textures on these trees come in looking a bit metallic, so I'm going to play with those a little bit, turn them into standard surface so that I can get something that I like a little better. And set up my render settings, make sure that my frames are set correctly. And I'm going to look at this view to help me set up my textures here. Yeah, so I want to drop down that shininess so my tree bark isn't quite so reflective. So if I do a bunch of quick little test renders like this, it'll help me make sure that when I do my final render, everything looks like I want it to look. And I still am not super happy with how this tree bark came out, so I'm going to switch it to a standard surface. And that's a little better. Just don't have that great, huge, reflective, bright spot on it. Now I'm going to play with the car textures. I'm going to give it a car paint and just adjust the color. And there we go. Now I'm ready to do my final render.
They told him what to wear, they tormented Bill. He died of despair, but they could not kill Jill. His clothes were all wrong,